What's up, everybody? Franco here from Frank Analysis. I'm in DC. I was on my way to an event, a protest, but it got moved to another location, so I had about an hour. Like, they also changed the time, so I had an hour to kill, so I decided to kill some time by making a video. And what I wanted to talk about was an article that I was reading just now. It was published by the Common Dreams, and it talks about the Green New Deal and how it's also talking about the wildfires that are happening in California right now. And it pretty much is talking about how if we don't have, it's either we get the Green New Deal or it's going to be hell on earth. And I do agree that if we don't take enough action right now to everything that's happening, what we're seeing happening in California right now with the orange sky and everything is on fire, then that's going to be spread across the rest of the world. But where I disagree is that the Green New Deal, although it is better than what we have now, it's not significant enough to counteract these effects that we're having right now with climate change. The Green New Deal doesn't ban fracking. It doesn't acknowledge nuclear waste, which can lead to other environmental effects and public health effects. And it also doesn't acknowledge imperialism. And imperialism, and I've talked about this on my show, imperialism always leads to overexploitation of resources, which leads to destruction of our environment. We're still going to be going into other countries and trying to steal their oil or trying to steal other resources that, you know, when it's ever overexploited, it leads to negative environmental effects. So what I liked about this article is that it criticizes the right people. Like, we know to criticize the Republicans. That's not what this article mainly did. You know, these wildfires are happening in California, the home of Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein, both of which don't even want the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal, again, which doesn't even ban fracking because AOC wanted to earn cool points with the corporate Democrats so that they can support her bill. So props to the article for going after Nancy Pelosi and Dianne Feinstein. Like, they still refuse to take any action for climate change during this crisis. They still refuse also to pass any form of single payer during a pandemic. And Joe Biden is also refusing to do it. Mr. I'm better than Trump. He keeps saying that over and over again, and he's not even showing how he's actually better than Donald Trump. Like, he's still going to be hawkish. He's not good on the environment. Just because he puts on his website that he's going to, you know, do all these great things for the environment doesn't mean he's going to follow through. And it's definitely not enough. Because like I said, he's a hawk. He's still going to want to go into other countries. Why? Because he's going to serve the people who pay him so that they can steal resources from other countries. And again, that leads to more environmental destruction. And getting rid of carbon emissions by 2035 is not fast enough. Look at what's happening right now. 2035, 15 years from now, we need to do something now. Better yet said, we need to have done something yesterday. It's like climate change was already here. People are saying that, oh, climate change is here now. Climate change was already here for many, many years. It's just that we're feeling the effects now. You know, it's like when you get sick with a virus and at first you don't feel the symptoms. And if your immune system isn't strong enough to combat it, you start to feel harsher symptoms. And if your immune system is still not strong enough, then your sickness gets worse and worse and worse until you take the proper vitamins and minerals and medications and other treatments to help combat the virus. And right now, we're not doing that. Instead, we are continuing to smoke the tobacco that is poisoning our lungs. That's what we're still doing right now by allowing carbon emissions to continue to pollute the earth. And now this is what we get: wildfires. We get an massive increase in heat. We get an increase in hurricanes and other natural disasters. All of that is caused by climate change. And, it all stems from greedy capitalism. It's by no coincidence that the increase of the Earth warming and the increase of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere started right when the Industrial Revolution began. And we just haven't been able to break out of the system. And now we're trying to have all these pragmatic solutions to combat climate change, like the Green New Deal, again, doesn't ban fracking. And people are very desperate, and they really want heroes, and so they think that AOC is doing enough to fight against the catastrophe that we have right now. And I gotta tell you, AOC is not doing enough. She is not. Her and Ed Markey, who I've talked about him with on the show with Suzanne Murphy, he is just another corporate Democrat. I mean, he signed on to the Green New Deal just to earn cool points because it's still safe for his donors because it doesn't ban fracking. AOC also, she wanted to earn cool points with the corporate Democrats, and they still won't sign on to the Green New Deal despite her trying to make some compromise by not banning fracking there. We had the OFF Act that Tulsi Gabbard introduced as legislation, and she was running on it in her 2020 campaign. She talked about it in her town halls. I've been to her town halls. She talks about the OFF Act. She talked about it in her speeches. She didn't have a chance to talk about it in the debates because, quite frankly, we barely talked about climate change in general on the debates. And whenever they called on Tulsi, it was to talk about other stuff that doesn't involve climate change. So the OFF Act went beyond the Green New Deal. It was there before the Green New Deal even. And because it actually banned fracking, it acknowledged nuclear waste, and it did so many other things, and it got endorsed by so many climate activist organizations and other environmental organizations. And AOC actually supported it until she saw that she was getting very popular, and I don't know what went on behind the scenes with her and Tulsi, but she wanted to introduce her own climate policy, which was the Green New Deal. So I just want to break away from this notion with everybody in the progressive community that thinks that the Green New Deal is enough. It's not enough. It's definitely better than what we have right now, but it's not significant enough. We need to do better. I wish that people could hashtag OFF Act more than they hashtag Green New Deal, but it's not cool. Like I said, it's not cool among the progressive community to do that. Because the popular thing is to promote the Green New Deal. And also AOC and Ed Markey, it's so really easy to call out the Republicans, and what they're not doing is that they're not calling out their colleagues, the corporate Democrats. Now's the time. I mean, we need to all inform ourselves more. Let's take a look at the scientific literature. What I saw in progressive YouTube and progressive news is that there is a void right now in talking about climate change. It's good. There are channels that talk about it, but there aren't channels that specialize in it. There's channels that specialize on foreign policy. There's channels that focus on economic policy. There's channels that focus on general politics. Others that focus mainly on politicians. But there's a void right now in channels that specialize on environmental policy, and I'm gonna fill in that void. I have a science background. I'm gonna inform myself more on policies. I already have an advantage in that I read a lot of science papers, peer-reviewed science papers, but I really gotta inform myself and educate myself more on the history of climate policies and what is in climate policies, like the nuances within them. But the biggest thing though is like the ban on fracking. That is not okay. That it's not okay to not ban fracking. It's not okay to not acknowledge imperialism, which contributes significantly to the destruction of our environment. So that's why I don't think the Green New Deal is enough. So that's all I have for you guys today. If you like this content, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And most importantly, stay informed. I love you guys.